What's up, everybody? This is Rob Archangel of ArchangelInc.com, and in this video I want to offer a review and some commentary on Wonder Woman, the new movie in 2017, and some ideas and thoughts that came up for me in relation to it. Specifically, I have been watching and listening to a lot of Jordan Peterson and thinking about his ideas around archetypal storytelling and the hero journey and how superhero movies these days are one of the principal ways that we get these archetypal stories. And so I saw a lot of that in this movie and wanted to reflect and ruminate and sort through my thinking a little bit on that. So first idea is that the antagonist in this movie was Aries. Now, as a heads up, there may be some spoilers in this, so if you haven't seen it yet and you don't want to have spoilers, feel free to tune in later and check back in another time. Okay, that said, Aries is the principal antagonist to Wonder Woman, to Diana in this movie, and Aries is the god of war. Now, this is part of the Greek pantheon, and one of the ideas that I had was, okay, if we conceptualize these various gods not necessarily as actual beings that walked around on Earth and in a literal sense. But instead think about it sort of metaphorically and think about it in terms of what it says about humanity and about us. It's pretty interesting. So Aries is the god of war, the god of aggression, and like all of these gods, Aries is immortal, and Aries can act through and serve as an avatar embodied within people. And in that sense, this god is immortal. The aggressive impulse, the violent impulse, the warlike impulse seems to have been here within humanity for as long as humanity has been around. Probably will be here for as long as we are here. One can hope that maybe things will change, but the winds of history are not suggesting that will be the case, or if they do happen over a rather long time span. It's not going to be something that we can turn the corner on tomorrow. But anyway, so there's this idea that I think Freud articulated it, and then it was expanded on by Jung, of there are these drives within us, that people are moved and motivated by drives, and they have these forces acting through them that aren't exactly them, but are a part of them somehow. And you can think about these drives as these timeless impulses, these timeless gods, in some cases, as acting through them. So that was kind of interesting. I thought about that a lot as the movie was going on. Another thing that came up for me was the parallels between Diana, Wonder Woman, and Jesus. So you have Wonder Woman, who is born of Zeus and an immortal, an Amazon, not a human exactly, but of immortal, and she has that Christ-like quality about her, this virgin birth and all of that, but also, I mean, some of the visual iconography. There are moments when she's jumping and has her arms extended in a cross-like fashion, and she's interested in protecting humanity and fighting for what's right in humanity. One of the distinctions, the philosophical distinctions between Diana on the one hand and Aries on the other, was Aries seemed to think that these violent and warlike impulses were representative of a base evilness to humanity, that there was no good there, and ultimately that this world and its inhabitants were not worth it. And Jesus and Diana present this counter argument. No, there is that line of good and evil running down the hearts of each man, but there is good there. There's the impulse toward something greater, towards something higher, towards something more virtuous, and so that was interesting. I thought about as well. It was almost explicitly put in those terms that there is good and evil in the hearts of each man, and that's something that Alexander Solzhenitsyn spoke about in the Gulag Archipelago. One of the things that so his story, he was a a prisoner of war. He was a Soviet citizen, prisoner of war in Germany during World War I, escaped, came home, and then found out that he was part of the he was targeted by the Soviets, and so he didn't come home to a hero's welcome, but in fact to more imprisonment, and it was pretty horrific story, and all that he experienced, and massive multi-volume work. And anyway, he talks very much about the logic of communism and of the Soviet Union, and how things sort of played out that way in this very totalitarian manner. And one of the things that he pointed out is that this hell on earth, and it was, I mean, by all accounts, hellish. One of the things that was absolutely necessary for it to continue going on and for it to become as bad as it became was that everybody lied to themselves and to each other all of the time. People didn't speak the truth. If somebody disappeared in the middle of the night, you pretended that it didn't happen. You pretended that person wasn't there the previous day. You cast suspicious glances on everybody. Everybody else was distrustful of one another, but never actually spoke frankly. And that's interesting. In the Christian understanding, there's this idea of the power of the truth, the power of the logos, of the word, of the articulated truth, and even this notion that that is Christ. Christ is the logos embodied. And so there's the what's the antidote to hell on earth? Well, it's the truth. It's a relentless reliance on lies brings about hell. So perhaps the embrace of truth brings about the opposite. And we don't know. But if you think about lies, lies are interesting. Kids learn to lie pretty young. The smarter that they are, the sooner they realize the benefits of lying. Oh, didn't you already do your homework? Oh yeah, I did my homework. Or didn't you, did you take your brother's toy? No, I didn't do it. I didn't touch it. I didn't do anything. And why do you do that? Well, on one level, you're trying to avoid consequences. You get what you want, or what you want in the short term, and you avoid the consequences later. However, there are consequences to pay. You can't avoid the truth forever. And you can think about, well, there are going to be consequences to the truth, and there are going to be consequences to the lie. But if you speak the truth, you pay now. If you move forward with the lie, you pay later with interest. And that's not entirely clear, again, because in the short term, with a short time horizon, lies seem to be really beneficial. It seems to really help to not say the truth and to kind of get what you want or what you think you want. But there is comeuppance. You have to pay the toll eventually, and and one of the ways that you pay that is sort of in your soul and your sense of self and personhood and your ability to actually discern reality from fiction and truth from falsehood and the way forward. So that's interesting, and that's of consequence. Related to this idea of Wonder Woman as Jesus and Jesus as the truth and the spoken word and the power of the logos. One of Wonder Woman's tools, one of her weapons, is the Lasso of Truth. And you're caught up in the Lasso of Truth, and you're compelled to speak honestly, to speak the truth as best you know it, as much as you know. And so I thought, again, that was pretty cool. And I thought about, boy, well, that really is a superpower, isn't it? Being able to get the truth, one out of others, but out of ourselves too, in a certain kind of way. There's one scene that's pretty funny where Diana is angry at the main male protagonist, Steve, I think was the character's name, and she's like, how could you do this? How could you let all these innocents die? And he's like, look, I'm just telling them that, and we're gonna go anyway. She's like, wait, are you lying? And he's like, I'm gonna bring you there. I'm gonna bring you to the front, and we're gonna go on this mission. And here, give me the lasso. And he wraps it around. And he's like, we're gonna go, and we're probably gonna die. And this may be a terrible idea, but you sort of live with that. I mean, it's maybe that's the cost of retaining your soul, of being truthful. You deal with the consequences and you embrace it. It doesn't mean you celebrate it. It doesn't mean you look forward to it, but you take on that challenge. You know what the cost might be, and you do it anyway. And in some ways, that's the hero's journey. I mean, you might be celebrated or you might be killed, but you do it anyway. So interesting. Okay, let's see. Another thing that I wanted to talk about. I think I covered all these ideas. Aries, the god of war, this timeless avatar of a human impulse, and you can think about other gods as other avatars, other drives, other aspects that kind of work through humanity. The line of good and evil goes down the heart of every man. It's not easy exactly to just categorize entire groups of people as evil, and hope that if we just press them all aside, that we can live in paradise on earth, because it's in each one of us. There's that capacity for good and that capacity for evil, and how do we deal with that? How do we aspire toward the good? How do we figure out what the good is? And work toward it, and at least how do we avoid speaking things we know not to be true, because we have reasonably good reason to believe that sort of relentless lying and dishonesty can and may inexorably lead to hell on earth. So interesting story, interesting movie, a lot of fun action pieces and characters and all of that. So worth thinking about, worth watching as an example of archetypal stories and character types and all of that. But I'd love to hear what you have to say about it. Any thoughts around any aspect of the movie, whether related to these themes or otherwise, please feel free to leave them down below. Feel free to click like and subscribe if you want more of these videos. Also, let me know that there's mostly publishing related stuff, but occasionally commentary and me riffing on ideas. So thanks for watching. This is Rob Archangel of ArchangelInk.com. I will see you next time.